In my 30 years of practice as a psychotherapist, I've seen people's ego minds talk them out of leaving really unhealthy, abusive relationships, talk them into remaining in jobs they despise rather than pursuing something they would enjoy much more, or convince them to isolate themselves rather than reaching out to make new friends when they're feeling desperately lonely. Unfortunately, following the guidance of our ego minds generally brings suffering, lowers our vibration, and keeps us from attracting what we really want. Welcome to the Abundance Zone, offering you tips and tools for supercharging your ability to attract more of what you desire into your life. Learn how to step into the abundance zone and stay there more consistently and watch your life transform. Welcome to episode 19 of the Abundance Zone. I'm Dr. Eve DeLunas. One of the keys to living in the abundance zone is to recognize and act upon communication from your inner guidance. Your inner guidance is how your greater self, your essence, nudges you in the direction of your soul's path and purpose in this lifetime. It's always been there, gently urging you to make choices that are in alignment with your highest good. Following the higher guidance you receive will ultimately lead you to the greatest level of joy and fulfillment within this lifetime, as it's like your North Star, always lighting the way towards a more abundant life, more love, more freedom, more vitality, more creativity, more self-awareness and self-discovery, more of the lifestyle you desire. Although following our internal guidance system brings great rewards, many of us have trouble doing so. And one of the big reasons for this is that it can be difficult to discern which messages are actually coming from our divine essence. It's easy to mistake the voice of our ego mind for that of our higher guidance. By the way, if you haven't already done so, it might help you to listen to episode 14, which I posted on July 10th, 2022, in which I discuss the differences between your ego and your divine essence. Our egos are the voice in our heads. They can be loud and repetitive and insistent. They seek to gain and maintain power and control over our behavior. And they can be very persuasive in talking us out of doing the very things our actual higher guidance is nudging us to do. In my 30 years of practice as a psychotherapist, I've seen people's ego minds talk them out of leaving really unhealthy, abusive relationships, talk them into remaining in jobs they despise rather than pursuing something they would enjoy much more, or convince them to isolate themselves rather than reaching out to make new friends when they're feeling desperately lonely. Unfortunately, following the guidance of our ego minds generally brings suffering, lowers our vibration, and keeps us from attracting what we really want. On the other hand, I can tell you the many times I followed my ego's advice rather than that of my inner knowing have been some of my best learning experiences. So there really is no wrong choice. In contrast to the voice in your head, messages from your greater self often seem like gentle whispers from within. You may experience a deep sense of just knowing which choice is right or best for you at this time. When your guidance speaks to you, it may make you feel inspired, motivated, and excited to take action, or peaceful, settled, and clear about what step or steps to take next. You may receive a symbol or image, the words of a song that have meaning for you and that point you in a certain direction. These messages you receive from your divine essence are never fear-based, Rather, they're moving you in the direction of greater personal growth, expansion, wholeness, and well-being. Since we're all different, what's important is for you to become familiar with the unique way your inner guidance comes to you. To do this, it can be helpful to bring to mind a few times when you recognized and acted upon this inner knowing. Perhaps it was a big decision you were making to pursue a particular career field or course of study, to get married, to end a relationship, or even to move to another country. Or perhaps you recall a little decision that ended up having unexpected positive consequences, initiating a conversation with a stranger, sending an email, making a phone call, or applying for a job online. For example, I will never forget the first time I drove past the university I would attend years later for my bachelor's and master's degrees. As I looked at the sign in front of the university, I got a burst of energy, excitement, and enthusiasm, and a clear sense of knowing that this was the right school for me. I knew nothing about the school at the time, but it turned out it was absolutely perfect for me in more ways than I can possibly describe here. Another example is I was on a tour bus of the city of Edinburgh in Scotland, and I felt a strong urge to strike up a conversation with the American man sitting next to me on the tour. His family was scattered around the bus in other seats, and we were sitting side by side. Well, it turned out my brief conversation with him ultimately put me in touch with a woman who found the perfect apartment for me to live in when I moved from California, USA to Munich, Germany 7 months later. It's a long story, but that's the kind of thing that can happen when you tune into and follow your inner guidance. You never know where it's going to lead you because we're only guided to take the next step. We're not shown what the impact of that particular step will be on our future. We have to trust that it will happen in the right way at the right time, in whatever way things are meant to happen for us. And that's what makes following our inner guidance so important, but also so challenging. Getting back to the exercise now. Whatever comes to mind for you, whether big or small, or one of each, consider what you were experiencing at the time. Ask yourself the following questions. What did it feel like to receive these messages? How did you know that a particular course of action was the best one for you? What are some clues you can use in the future to discern the voice of your guidance from that of your ego mind? Take time to ponder these questions to learn more about how you might recognize intuitive guidance from the you who sees the big picture of your life and wants only to help you. And as you go through your day, you might notice other situations, other times from your past come to mind when your inner guidance, when your intuitive messaging system was operating and you heard it, you received the message and you acted upon it. No doubt there are many examples of this. You may not recall them immediately, but your intuitive guidance system has been with you since you were born. And so there have been many times when it has served to help you make choices in your life that are in alignment with your soul's plan for you. And So consider again when these come to mind. How did you know? What was it that helped you to recognize this message as something profound for you, as something important? Start to learn more about how your inner guidance system works with you. Because again, we're all different. Everyone is unique in this respect. And your way is different than anyone else's way. One other helpful tool you may choose to use when you're confused about what your guidance is telling you and you're not sure of which way to turn, of what to do next, is to close your eyes and then ask yourself 3 questions. The first of these is, what do I think? The second, again, with your eyes closed, that's important. The second question is, what do I feel? And the third question is, what do I know? This simple exercise is amazing in its ability to help us sort through all of the mental confusion and get to the heart of the matter. My clients have often been surprised when doing this process to see that they're actually quite clear about what they know, about the choice that represents their highest path. It's a way of sorting through all of the mind's confusion and gaining clarity from deep within you. Clarity sometimes that we don't notice because we're too busy thinking about the situation to recognize what we already know about it. There is nothing wrong with using our rational minds to problem solve, to analyze. Our rational mind is a beautiful gift that we have and can be very helpful in many situations. But our rational mind is not our inner guidance, just as our ego mind is not our inner guidance. Our ego mind is that voice in the head that's always chattering about something, that has one opinion after another and full of shoulds about what we should be doing or shouldn't be doing. The inner guidance, inner knowing, intuitive knowing that we're talking about here comes from a much deeper place. It comes from a higher place, if you will. It's kind of paradoxical. It's both deeper and higher at the same time. And that's when you are receiving message from your higher self, from your divine self, messages about the path of your highest good to follow in this lifetime. Before closing, let me remind you to please sign up for my monthly Abundance Zone newsletter. It will give you access to free guided meditations, information about upcoming live question and answer sessions you're free to attend, and lots of other information about living in the abundant zone. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Have a beautiful week. Bye.